All right, guys. Sorry for that delay. Okay. I was having internet issues over here, so I just fixed that connection issue. Let's start. I'll be sharing my screen. Please drop a message in the chat if you can hear me, so that we don't have to wait longer. Just drop a message in the chat. I'll go ahead to share my screen now. Let's see. Continue from where we left off yesterday. Okay. Let's continue from where we stopped yesterday. All right. So what we're going to do is to simply build a simple application, right? This time around using Mongoose. I mentioned Mongoose yesterday, but I said we're going to look at it in the class today. Okay. Let me just open up the website. Let's go to MongoDB website first. MongoDB. I think I'm probably sharing the wrong screen. Oh, okay. Hold on. All right. Okay, so we're able to download MongoDB yesterday. We've also seen how MongoDB works from the CLI. Yeah, so we looked at it yesterday using the Mongo shell, right, which is the CLI tool for working with MongoDB on your local environment. Okay, so we tried some commands, show DBs, use the DB and show collections, right? And we also experimented with a few commands like db.users.find, which is to search, find one, right, with the key. We also looked at that yesterday, and yeah, delete as well. So delete, update, and the rest of them. So I'm going to this to you guys. Let's see, where can I get that link? So there was this material that I just quickly put together. Let me copy the link so I can share with you. Okay, forget about the title. The title is quite funny, but focus on the content. So yeah, I added the video, from the last class. We have the video from the last class. What is MongoDB? Some details about MongoDB, how it actually works. The way relationships is seen in such database, right? Yeah, the JSON-like documents, okay, and also working with dynamic schemas. So if you come down to the bottom here, you see the session we had yesterday, right? This is the first session here. Okay. We discussed Mongoose. And of course, we have some sample commands. Some of these commands we've looked at right now. You see, the commands and the meaning of each command, right? Okay. So as I said earlier, don't mind the title. All right, so the command for updating documents, deleting documents, creating index. All right, so you would definitely find this useful, right? If we scroll down here, we also have the MongoDB CRUD operation, right? Creating a record, searching for a record, right? Deleting the record. Okay. Yeah, then we also looked at the MongoDB compass, right? That is the GUI tool that we explored yesterday. Okay. I have the link right here. If you want to download MongoDB compass, you just have to click on this link and it takes you straight to the download page. Okay. We also look at the MongoDB CRUD operation using MongoDB npm package, right? Remember this npm package, you simply have to, install it in your work environment, in your project environment. So if I exit from here, let's go back to the desktop, cd, let me say Mongo, backend with Mongo, okay? All right, so I'm just going to take off everything from here, right? So I'm saying rom package.json, server.js, rom-r node modules. Okay, what do I have left? Rom package.log.json. Okay, so of course npm init dash y. Okay, so this gives us our, our node application. At least we have package.json in here. Next, we just say npm install or npm I, and you simply put in MongoDB. If you want to see more details about that package, you can simply check out the npmjs.com website. You can search for MongoDB to see more details about the package. Okay, more. All right, let's search. Okay, so now you see we have that exact match. The official MongoDB driver for Node.js. Let's click on this. MongoDB Node.js driver. Okay, so you can read more about this package, and you also see how you perform that installation from here. Okay, so using npm or using yarn if you're working with yarn, which is also a package manager, right? All right, let's close this for now. So I'm just going to say npm install MongoDB, and that would install the package. You can simply copy this code and test this code in your own environment, so you can see how it works, right? This is the part where we have each function. So we have function for starting a document, right? We have the function for search, right? We have a function for updating a document. You don't necessarily need to work with it this way, right? This is just separating the various operations into functions, right? So you can actually see how it works. Okay. Yeah, we have the update action here. So what happens is you are updating one record with the name of John, and then you are setting the age. So you are putting in a new value in here. You're setting the age in that particular record to 40, right? Yeah, so we also have the delete action right here, const delete document. So this is the function that basically performs that delete action. So you delete one record where the name equals John, right? It's going to delete one record, the most recent record, right? Or I would say the first record that it picks with the name of John. So if you're trying to basically perform delete action, it makes sense that you use some sort of unique key, so you don't end up deleting, a record that you did not want to delete. Okay, so it makes sense to use. Sometimes we use ID, right? Sometimes we use maybe some unique value that you've appended to that particular record, okay, or that particular document. Yeah, so this is where we now perform that CRUD operation. Okay, so we simply call insert document, and within the callback function, we call find document, update document. So this is simply going to print all those actions, the result of those actions, because if you look at this, you see we are console logging some of these actions, right? So this is simply going to call all these functions and so that action, right? Just to show you as an example. So you can test run that, okay? Just have to copy this, let's say touch server or app.js, okay? So I can open this up, paste the code in there, right? Of course, you can do this with VS Code, okay? So now that I have that code right inside that file, I just have to first, I did not even see the name of the database, but I'm sure you can check. So DB name is my DB, okay? All right, so if I say node app.js, let's see what happens there. I think we have that installed already, okay? Let's make sure I have not, okay, hold on. English, okay. Let's take a look at this. MongoDB localhost 27017. Let's make sure we don't have anything. Okay, okay. I think I would have to. So the thing is, this is already running, but I would have to cross check. Hold on a second. Show DBs just to see if that database was even created. So it wasn't created. So that was why it's paused at that point. I'll have to cross this. I will have to cross check this. But anyways, we'll get back to this. Let me just proceed to the next. Why is this not connecting? All right, give me a second. Let's check this out right now. All right. So let's check out that file, app.js. So we have a MongoDB client right here, the URL for connection, the name of the DB. Okay, client.connect. Okay, let's run this again, but this time around, I'm simply going to switch one action, just one function. You have to, connected successfully, right? And next, we just run find document. Okay, so let's proceed to just call find documents. And we pass in the DB because it expects the DB, right? So it's expecting the DB. So let's pass in that database and just to also cross check. Yeah, so that database is right in here. Okay. So I think that is exactly why. That's exactly why. So we have insert documents. We have find documents. So let's first, insert that document. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to do, is delete from here. Let's just take off from here. Okay, and let's run this from the terminal. I'm just going to say node app.js. I'm trying to figure out why this isn't connecting to my DB. Okay, that's a connection error from here. And I don't know why, but I would have to check. All right, so I'll proceed for now. I'll come back to this, to cross check why I can't connect to this URL that I've stated here. Let's see. Our client.connect. I'll have DB. Okay, insert document into DB. This is the DB name, my DB. All right, I'll circle back to this shortly. Let's just take a look at Mongoose from the documentation. I mean, this was already tested, so not working now. I'm sure it's from my end. Anyways, you can try it out from your end. I'm sure that should work perfectly. Let's go to the Mongoose. I'm going to first open npmjs.com again, and now I'm going to search for Mongoose. There's a spelling error there, Mongoose. Okay. All right, so this is the exact match. So let's click on this. All right. So as I mentioned yesterday, this basically helps us with object modeling, right? It's called an ODM as opposed to calling it an ORM if you have worked with relational databases before, right? Object relational mapping for ORM. So this is basically object document mapping because we're mapping documents, right? So this is how you basically work with Mongoose. Of course, you install the package Mongoose, and then you proceed to set up your models, right? So you perform that mongoose.connect request here with your database name, okay? And then you set up the schema. This is the schema. So if you're trying to create a new application, and let's call this a blog app or something, this is the blog post schema, right? And then you can basically connect, and yeah, you can basically work with that schema to save your records. Okay, so let's see an example of where we save that new record right here. This is how you basically perform a search, not find. This gives you all the items you have within that collection, right? So and yeah, so we have some of those examples here. Let's proceed to set up a new project using this package. Okay. All right, so let's do that now. Give me a second. Okay, so I'm simply going to say touch Mongoose, let's call it Mongoose file.js. All right, so back in here, we can work with this specific file. So as I mentioned, we are going to start by installing the Mongoose package. I'm going to use npm install. I think I need to zoom in on this so you can see it clearly as well. Npm install Mongoose. Okay. All right. So that install is complete. We have the Mongoose package installed right now. Let's close this for now. We'll come back to that. Next, we're going to import the package that we just installed. So I'm going to say const mongoose equals require mongoose. Okay, and next I'm going to connect to mongoose. So I would say mongoose.connect. And by the way, the code I'm actually using right here for this example, you can find it on this material. So let me just drop this in the chat for you guys as well. So you can click on it. You can check it out while you can check it out while we're in the class here. Okay. All right, let's come back here. So mongoose.connect. So this is the point where you put in the connection string, right? And I hope it actually works this time around because I was wondering why I could not connect in this example to the URL, but we are simply going to reuse the same URL. So this is 27017, which is the actual port, MongoDB. Okay, let's do that. MongoDB local hosts 271 27017. Okay, and of course the name of our DB. So let's call this music. That's the name of the DB, or just books. I mean, let's just say our DB. Okay, or my DB. Let's use the same DB name as the other one. All right, so you want to put these options here. Use, so we have use new URL parser. URL parser. True. These are basically parameters you have to include. Use, I think that's unified topology. Unified topology. Okay. True. So of course you can simply copy this from the library, but you can also check it out here. That sample code is right here. So you can just copy this. Okay. So this is where you basically perform the connection. You basically pass that connection into this variable that we call the db, right? Mongoose.connection, and you say db.on. If there's an error, tell us we have an error connecting to the db, and once connected, let us know that the connection was successful. So I can simply paste this here. Let's say node mongoose file.js. All right, so we have an error. So I think this is why, oh, I made a mistake there. Save, try that again. All right, so that connection was successful. That is why we have connected to MongoDB. Okay, let's continue. Probably I'll reduce this a bit. So now we are connected to MongoDB. We want to take some of the examples we have here. This is where you define the schema. So I can simply paste this here. The schema you create, you simply have to use the mongoose.schema. You have to call the library by saying mongoose.schema. That specifies that you are trying to use the schema object here from MongoDB, from Mongoose specifically, right? And so this is the document. This is the name of the schema that you are trying to create. So if it's a book schema, we can say maybe the title of the book, the genre of the book, right, which is also expected to be a string, the author of the book, which is expected to also be a string, right? And if you're trying to sell books, then maybe you have the price, right? So, of course, you know that when working with MongoDB, you don't need to specify a schema, but with the help of Mongoose, you can, of course, specify that schema, right? So that you don't end up having different records that don't meet, the standard record that you expect to have. Okay. And you can also use libraries that are used for validation to ensure that item is valid, right, before it probably gets here. I think price should be a number, right? So if you want to perform validation, of course, there are libraries you can use for that. We have Zod. Is this Zod or Zed? I think it's Zod. So we have Zod, we have Joy, we have AJV. There are different packages that you can actually experiment with. So yeah, Zod is a good example. Um, but I think I've seen a lot of people use Joy, right? I also use Joy a lot myself. So yeah, Joy is also a good one. Then AJV is something I've used when working on projects that I would say most likely when I work on projects where I need to use multiple languages, maybe like Python, and I want to work with a schema definition, the same schema definition across multiple languages. It makes sense to use AJV because a schema definition that I create in AJV while working with Node and JavaScript, I can also use the same schema specification in Python, right? So you can check that out as well and probably learn how to use it. AJV is a good one. Let's click on AJV. Let's see. So if you're using AJV, you have to specify the objects that you want to validate in form of a schema file, right? Of course, not compulsory that you make it a schema file, but that's pretty much the best way to go. This is what the schema looks like. And we can simply use a schema file and then use that schema file across multiple languages or multiple frameworks, and it works perfectly as well. Okay, so you can check it out. AJV is good, and yeah, I love using AJV. So if I've performed that schema validation, I can then pass that object that I fetch from my API or that I got from the API request into this schema, right? And I should be able to, create a new record by just appending, that data. So you see when I have create document, new document, which is, basically representing this document here, right? We created the schema, we created the model, and, within the mongoose.model function here, we simply pass in, the name that we want to call this model, which of course would be the name that is also shown on our database, right? And we have the document schema, which is the schema that we have created for this. Okay, so let's come back here. We created a book schema. Okay, so this is the book schema. We can call it the book schema. And let's just copy this. So this is where we define the model. All right, so we can call this a book, mongoose.model. So let's also call this a book and the book schema. All right, so this book schema represents the book schema we have created in here. Okay. So our model right now is called the book, and the schema is called the book schema. All right, so let's come in here. We can grab the code for creating a new document. This time around, we're using the book schema, the book model, don't forget. So I have to say book, right? Let's say create book. Okay, so we're creating a book and we need to pass in, the set of objects required, title, the genre. So I can say title, let's pass in the title. Yeah, let's pass in the title as Harry the programmer. Okay, genre, I can just say, I don't really know a lot of. Okay, so I'm just going to say action or fiction, kind of weird. Yeah, it's a fiction. Okay, so author, magic. Okay, let's say we also have the price. Okay, the price. Let's just say the price is like $500 or something. Yeah. Okay. So that is the document that we are trying to create. So when we say document save, that would save that record. Okay. So if we go ahead to execute this, yeah, so we can simply call create book, and that is expected to create this book. One thing you can do is, pass the objects. So you can simply say this is the object we expect, right? Or the value, whatever you want to call it, data value. And then you pass that data value in here, right? So that you'll be able to pass the object, when you want to. Okay. I mean, there are different ways to compose those objects, so it's up to you. to define how you want to compose the object within your own code base. All right. So if I run this again, the expectation is it's going to connect to the DB, and then it is going to, create that record. So you see, we have document created successfully. We can verify this. So let's just say show DBs again. So now we have my DB. I think that was the name we used just to verify that my DB. Okay. So let's say use my DB. Use my DB. Not my D, but my DB. Okay. All right. So we can say show collections. So you see, we have the books collections. Yeah. So we can say db.books.find. So that gives us the record we have in there. This is the record we just created. You see, by default, this ID was generated. Of course, you can choose not to use this ID. You can choose to use your own ID, but I mean, it's fine to simply have this unique ID generated for you rather than trying to generate your own. You can generate your own. I mean, if you want to use UUID, for example, I've shown you how to use that already. So you can simply use UUID inside this schema. You should be able to make the change and decide to use your own ID rather than having the default generated by MongoDB. Okay, so this is how you create a book, and following the example we have here, right? This is how you can basically find that book that you've created. So I can paste this code in here, right? So we're trying to find book. Let's make those adjustments. Say find book. So we have book. Remember, you have to stick to the model that you have created, right? So this is the model here. That's why I say the book.find. This is going to return all the books, basically. So if we create another book, let's create two books first. Let's comment this out for now. And let's create another book. So I'm going to say Harry the Architect. All right. The price, maybe add two there. Okay, save. And let's run this one more time. All right. So now we have another document created. Let's run this again. But find, you see, we have two records in that array. All right. So let's find that document or that book. Let's just say find book. Okay. So we have find book, book.find. Yeah. So this is simply going to return that book. So if I run this, you see we have the books, returned right here. Okay. So we have book one and book two. All right. And of course, you can also specify, with a query. So let's say you want to specify based on the price. Yeah. So return the book with 500, right? With the price of 500. So if I should run that again, let's see what we get. We get just one record, right? Let's expand this a bit. So we get just one record. Okay. And of course, if I say two 500. This is Harry, the programmer. If I run this again, this time we'll have Harry, the architect, right? Because that is the item with the price of 2,500. Okay. Yes. So this is how you basically get to return those values from the DB. We also have the option for updating the value. So say we want to update the price. Let's fetch that first. Let's put that code in here. Say update book record. Update book. Okay, so we'll call this book. All right, so the book updated successfully. So now we are changing. We are basically, this is our search filter, right? We're checking for the book with the price of 2,500, and we want to set that price to something else, maybe 5,000, right? Let's save, and we'll simply call update book. Remember, these parameters can be passed in here. So of course, I mentioned the other time, you know how you want to structure your code. If I run this time around, we get book updated successfully. So if I come back here to verify, if I say db.find db.book, I think it's books, right? Correct. Let's see. Yeah, the books dot find, and I specify price, or let's just get the whole thing. So now you see the Harry, the architect book was updated from 25 to 500. Okay. I want to take some questions. I I believe you guys might have some questions in the chat. I have six of you here. Drop your questions in the chat if you can hear me clearly and if this is clear to you, right? Drop your questions. Remember, you can also, get to use the code here, so you can simply copy that and, try it out on your hand. We have the function here to delete a document. Let's jump back into a code here and we'll say delete book. So if I say delete book, this is the function to delete a book. It's a book dot delete one. You're trying to delete one, not all. So I mean, we're simply following the same set of functions and code that we've used before, right? When working with the CLI, I'm sure you can see the similarity in here. Okay, so now we're trying to delete, but we want to make sure we delete one, not all. All right. So this is why a lot of people love to use Mongoose because it's quite easy to work with. So we can decide to delete the book with a price of 5,000. Okay. So book deleted successfully. Yeah, let's go ahead and try that. So I would say delete book. Let's run that. Okay, so it says book deleted successfully. We can do this again, db.books. Find. Now you see we just have one record. Okay, so we have been able to create a record, search for a record, update, and also delete that record. All right, that is basically your CRUD operation, right? So you've been able to perform some of those actions. Do well to read this as well, right? Do well to read this. You start DB, how you define the schema, how you set up the model, and of course, how you perform this set of actions, right? The rest would be based on your business logic or the logic around your database operations from your end. But these are the major actions, right? You want to create a record, you want to fetch a record, right? Fetching records can be dynamic, and of course there are more to this, especially when you start looking at performing aggregations and trying to fetch records in a more complicated way. There are ways to actually look at performing those kind of fetch actions. But this is what I want you guys to understand. The simplicity around using Mongoose, connecting to your database. Of course, package first, connecting to your database. Um, yeah, setting up that connection, right? And defining your schema. This is the schema we have right here. This is how you define your model, right? And you see right here we have the actions to basically perform those actions, like to perform the CRUD actions, like creating a record, searching for a record. Um, yeah, remember I said that this is just giving us a lot of items. If we say find one, you are going to get one item. Okay, find many or just find, right? This is just find. If you're using Mongoose, you use just find. As opposed to when you have find one, find many. This library also gives you yeah, so you can say find and delete. Can you see that? Find by ID, find by ID and delete, find by ID and update, right? So instead of performing two actions, trying to check if it exists before updating, you can just run that, in a single function. It checks and it performs that update, right? Since you have your try and catch, if it doesn't exist, you also get the record, the response that says, oh, this item does not exist, right? So it's easier, to perform this set of actions rather than just, trying checking if that particular record exists or not. So find one and delete, find one and replace, find one and update. Yeah, you can simply find examples of this as well on the Mongoose documentation. Yeah, okay. So I want you guys to check this out. Work with the material that I've shared already. Read through. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? Very straightforward. Just read through, try out the examples. See how it works. So that in our next meeting, we would simply build something, mixing up both Express, MongoDB. Would try to create actual, functional API, and then possibly having it deployed, you know, during that session. Okay. Um, yeah. So that's all I wanted to share with us this evening. If you have any questions, drop those questions, and please share this material. Linda, if you can hear me, please pick up this material, and you can share it to the WhatsApp group and Discord server, so that we can have them, experiment and try out some of these things from their end as well. Okay. All right, guys. So without taking too much of our time, I think this should be good. Uh, this material will be shared with you, and do well to just consume it and try out some of these examples. Okay. All right. Thank you. I think the form was just shared, the attendance form. So if you're already on the call, just go ahead, pick it up, and fill that form. Thanks for your time, and do have a wonderful evening. Thanks, guys.